Hi, I'm Ellen Gormley and welcome to my channel. Let's talk about the love knot today. It's also called the Solomon's knot, and it's a very lacy, airy stitch, and so it makes really beautiful, delicate fabrics. You can make the stitch out of any yarn and just match your yarn with the hook for the right match. This is probably a J hook, and this is a worsted weight yarn, so perhaps this hook is a little bit big for this yarn, but I like big hooks. So this is what I'm using today. So I just have a foundation double crochet set up. It doesn't really matter though. I just needed something to get us started. If you want to learn about how to make the foundation double crochet, which is the beginning chain and the first row of double crochets all in one step, check out my playlist for special stitches and look for double crochet foundation. You can see it's nice and stretchy and it makes a gorgeous fabric. So the Solomon's knot is really, or love knot, it's also called that, is kind of confusing for people because we lift up the loop on the hook the specified amount in the pattern. Sometimes it'll say 1/2 inch, sometimes it'll say 1 inch. And it's your job to eyeball it and to be careful to make it uniform every time you make the stitch. So I'm going to make mine about 1 inch, maybe a little less here. Make that loop on the hook a little large, yarn over and pull through the big loop on the hook. I like to hold it with my thumb and forefinger so that it is open. And then we will insert the hook in the same stitch and make a single crochet. And that is a love knot. It's also the Solomon's knot. So let's do it again. I'm going to go ahead and just double crochet, skip a stitch and double crochet, just because. Okay. Now you could just do a bunch of love knots in a row without putting double crochets in between, but I just wanted to anchor it so that we could focus on learning the love knot again. So make our big loop. Make it the same as the previous stitch you just made. You know, you want to be consistent. Trying to show you different angles here of how it looks. Yarn over and pull through the loop. Now it's like that is just one massive size chain when you think about it. So there's 2 loops there. There's a back ridge there that I'm holding on to. So it's one really massive chain. But then we're going to single crochet into the back ridge of that chain, like so. And you end up with this really elongated chain with the V on the top, the back ridge or back bump or back bar on the back, and you've single crocheted into it. So if we were to do another one without a double crochet in between, we again would just elongate our stitch, make a really massively huge chain, then single crochet in the back loop or back ridge of that really big chain. And that is the love knot or Solomon's knot stitch. So if we wanted just to keep doing that, we could, or we could skip a few stitches, make a regular double crochet, and then make another one. So you can see it gets to be like a really loose fabric, very airy, with little single crochets in between. Also, you can tell here that this one, the second one I made, is slightly bigger than the first one. I didn't intend for that to happen. I just didn't measure or guess correctly. It's really hard to guess the amount of how big to make that loop. If you are really into making it exactly, precisely as uniform as possible, you can maybe use your finger as a measure. So if your pattern doesn't specify how big of a loop to make, for instance, this is where my hook belongs in the stitch, but if I want to try and make it a uniform measure, I could lift up the loop, measure it with my finger, tighten it a little bit, and then use my finger as the standard measure when making subsequent ones. Then I would, on the next stitch, return to that same measure of my finger, kind of put it on my finger so that my finger is now how big the loop is going to be, and pull through a chain through there. and then do the single crochet through the back ridge, back bar of the big ol' that's a technical term, big old chain. And that makes it more uniform if you want to do it that way. But follow your pattern, because your pattern will tell you how big of a loop probably to make. And if it doesn't tell you how big of a loop to make for your pattern, then you might just have to do some swatching. Sometimes in life, swatching is what's necessary so that you know what's going to happen and you can continue to go the way you want to go. So let's see, I'm going to chain one big stitch, double crochet in the first chain the first stitch as I'm turning. This is not a pattern. This is me just playing with Solomon's knot or love knot. So let's pull up a loop, make one really huge chain, then single crochet in the back bar of that chain to finish it off. I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial on the love knot, the Solomon's knot stitch. Stay tuned, because I have a treat for you next week, and it might be the free pattern of the week. Might include this stitch, so stay tuned.